we're metricizing this is going to be really unfair because they're talking about a specific issue. We're expecting that they were going to talk about the entire resolution. However, the standard should be not predictable. It's going to skew us out of a lot of ground, and we're going to decrease our strategy because we can't talk about the general issues. If we prepare just for a specific thing, then we're not going to be able to run them because they will you can vote fairness and education to the independent of off-period voting issue because it's theory. Okay, they talk about normal means, so they don't specify what these normal means are going to be. They have to specify this if they're going to talk about a specific plan that implements a specific policy. Go to advantage 1. First of all, there's all causes. This is going to be global warming and pollution. This is going to be terminal defects on this first advantage because what they're doing here is not going to be enough. Or sorry, there are alternate causes. There are alternate bigger reasons why the fish are decreasing. They're not going to be able to solve via this. Specifically, pollution, because pollution is increasing this fast, they're going to have any effect on the sand. Global warming is a 100% probable impact. We have to talk about this rather than talking about just decreasing the fishing. Fishing is also going to be a bigger impact because we need to talk about global warming because it's going to affect a greater number of people and a greater number of things, and it has a 100 probable likelihood. Okay, go to B. They don't say how they're going to say how they're going to increase this and how they're going to solve this. They talk about how old fish have a greater number of eggs they produce, but young fish also have a high number of eggs they produce. They produce 80% of many eggs as the older fish. So just because they're going to increase the older fish is only going to increase it by 20%. Also, turn on Japan. This is going to increase backlash on Japan. Japan's going to do the opposite of what they say because the Democratic Party of Japan is like very in a lot of ways is very anti-US, and they're going to want to do whatever they can. Backlash is going to increase the likelihood that they're going to increase their overfishing. Furthermore, you can use this as an example when the U.S. tried to sign the U.N. Treaty of the Sea Law, Japan backlash, and they pulled out of it. Now, impacts. First off, they talk about the Caribbean. They don't say how they're going to link to the Caribbean. All Caribbean is entirely different countries. That it doesn't include the U.S. They probably should specify what how it's going to affect the U.S. rather than the Caribbean, since they don't get this impact. Also, they talk about mass extinction. This is a huge. They don't say how they're going to get to mass extinction. I don't see how overfishing is somehow going to magically lead to extinction and the decrease and the destruction of humanity. There are other food sources. Number 1, number 2, global warming is an alternate cause that's going to happen first. Anything else on this? Second off advantage is natives. You can do both at the same time. The natives can do. The natives can fish while the corporations fish at the same time. There's no reason why you can't do both, especially because the corporations are decreasing the fishing in the status quo, and natives only take up a small percentage of this fishing. Also, possibly the terminal defects on Hawaii, where we talk about there's going to be all causes, including global warming and pollution. There's going to be terminal defects that are going to destroy both of their advantages. Also, they talk about cultural decline. Cultural decline is increasing. Cultural rights for Native Americans is increasing in the status quo, especially in Hawaii because they're measures taken by the Democratic legislature in order to ensure that the natives who have an intrinsic value to Hawaii and a large percentage of the population are going to be engaged and are going to have rights. Furthermore, just in general, the U.S. population is more tuned to human rights. They've got a very positive effect on human rights. We're increasing our view of equality in the status quo. This is going to mean that inevitably their uniqueness is overwhelmed, that the uniqueness is turned and this advantage is rendered irrelevant. Also, I'll go to the links. Also, Native Americans will be co-opted by the giant corporations. Giant corporations have a ton of money. This is going to mean that co-options and everything going to be occurring because the Native Americans are going to be overwhelmed by the corporations have a lot of money, and they're going to be basically bought off, and there's going to be increase and a continuation of overfishing. Now go to the cultural violence cross apply. How there's going to be there's an increase in positive view and legislation helping Native American culture. Also, they say whether we're targeting populations. We're not uniquely targeting this population, and we're targeting the general population in the passage. Just targeting this one population is going to change the entirety of the way we view the world and whether we're targeting populations or not. Also, they say decrease value to life. This fishing is not going to be enough. Just because we decrease fishing, it's not going to mean we're going to turn and increase the value to life of Native Americans. It's just not going to be enough. I would say on my moral imperative, this creates an obligation for the judge to weigh in with his personal opinion. Oh yeah, this creates an obligation, Tyler, for you, the judge, to weigh in your personal opinions. That's not good because it increases judge intervention. It's not good.
And there's no way for us to predict that. You may buy the argument.
Oh yeah, there's no way to predict whether you will buy the argument or a different policy-oriented or K-oriented judge might not. Okay, now go to off case. First off, T is overfishing. A, the interpretation is that overfishing means to the brink of extinction. They don't specify this to the brink of extinction. B is the violation. B is the violation. They don't specify that it's to the brink of extinction. C is the standard. 7 standards. First is predictability. This is we have to be predictable. We're predicting that they're going to talk about the extinction. Second is death over breath. When they talk about a specific issue, we're not going to be able. When they talk about the general issue, we're not going to be able to talk about the specific issues that are necessary. C is ground. You're talking about specific grounds, but they're not able to engage in this kind of view of whether we have the proper ground or not. 4 is limits. That we have to have reasonable limits for this. And then 5 is reusability. When they talk about specific policies, it's not going to be enough. 6 is real world. They're not talking about real world. They're general real world specific policies. They're talking about specific policies. Simon Strasky, because of context-specific policy as a cross-vote is about parametricization. D is the voter's vote of fairness, education is a priori. Now go to the K. We're running a deep ecology K. A is the inter. Utility calculations are right. They talk about utility policy, calculations. They try to quantify things. Those are really bad. We have to talk about intrinsic value of life adds, and discounts are always going to reproduce human dominance. K is the impact. K is an impact to all framework arguments. This is to turn their entire case. Also, the advanced simulation of dilemmas. We have to have real world calculations. Prejudicial ego interests going to trap us into Western mindset. This is going to talk like this is going to decrease the value of life that they talk about. This week, are all their impacts on value of life.
Besides the fact that they're making this imperative that the Western culture gets to decide which cultures get to continue.
Yeah, also they're making, they talk about whether Western cultures continue to exist, that's not going to be enough, right?
No. The Western cultures are then deciding which
other
cultures.
The Western cultures are deciding which ones will exist. Sorry, you have cross-sex. Also discourse shift reality, like when we talk about this is going to be a real world impact, we have to talk about what our ontology is. Also, ontology comes before ontology and methodology comes before policy. We have to consider what our ontology and bad ontology is a bad policy that means in the communist regime, they had bad ontology and bad policies that leads to terrible genocidal policies. Also, anthro framework for reproducing irreconcilable conflicts between long-term presentation and the short-term econ developments. Also, reliable data is lacking in eco stuff. Okay, B is the calculated framework leads to euthanogenics and extermination of it. Environmentally favor econ development is especially true in a world where we're focused on econ rather than actually talking about whether value of life and whether there's intrinsic quantifications. The next list is the U.S. federal government. The U.S. federal government is inevitably going to use policy rather than actually talking about. Also, third link is that they're going to use corporations. Both of these think about policy and utility calculations in a capitalist mindset. Fourth link is that they use a capitalist mindset. This is going to mean that the capitalist mindset dehumanizes and turns everything into values and quantification. See if the impacts, harms are reconstructed with moral utilitarian claims are reliant on dominance of nature. Vote negative to reject the native verbs and make ourselves feel less guilty. 2 is turns case solvency today for problems only leads to the next problem. Managerial mindset. Environmental problems continue to as long as we accept human and environmental dualism. And the third impact is that it destroys all value of life. This is going to come before that value of life because it turns our case. The alternative is vote neg and reject the mindset of human domination over natives. We are a part of nature, and we are not its destroyer. Okay, so also nothing short of environmental consciousness can shift the solvency problems of the world, specifically true in this current day and age. Also, the chaos for real world reflection. We have to talk about this. This is going to be an a priori impact. Also, you can't term this is going to be severance. We make that an a priori voting issue. I'm going to go to dissent real quick. Sorry.
Okay.
Dissent, GOP backlash. A is the GOP is really pissed off at the status quo. They don't want to be quartered. In terms of the sequester, they've already been quartered in the fiscal fund. B is the link. If the plan has the GOP will backlash and won't allow immigration and China climate change legislation that will be passed. This is going to dehumanize and this is going to lead to starvation. C is the impact is going to decrease value of life. The 0 point of the Holocaust is going to dehumanize the starvation. There's a high level. There's a high probability impact. The GOP is already very unhappy.